Greetings everyone and welcome to the first video for Alien's FireTeam Elite. After trying all the classes and options, I did find my favorite and it's the Technician. I do believe this won't be one of the most popular choices for one simple reason, the lack of rifle slot. Even the TOC and the Recon classes all have a rifle slot, which is probably one of the best initial weapons to use. However, the Technician only has a handgun and a CQW. Thankfully, we can unlock many options that some may suit your playstyle. Personally, I found a couple of options for handguns, and I found my favorite CQW after trying a couple of shotguns and SMGs. I bought the flamethrower from the vendor, and I fell in love ever since. But without any further delay, let's have a look at the endgame build I'm using. My primary weapon of choice for now is the Type 95 combat pistol, with some upgrades I will show you later. And my CQW option is the Type 99 incinerator, which you can thankfully buy from the vendor. For the pistol mods, I invest everything in weak point damage, since it's quite precise even in longer range, and thus this will help us to just nuke down higher health enemies and elites, because we're going to use the incinerator to slow down the enemies, but when we just have to nuke down some elites, we're going to use our pistol as a main source of DPS. Although I do prefer the Type 95 pistol, the Kramer 50 Magnum that we start with, it's actually pretty decent. I've been using it during my leveling up process until I found the other pistol. It's quite powerful, it has very high weak point damage, very high standard damage, but very low ammo count, but it hits very hard, and it's actually a pretty decent option compared to the others that dropped for me earlier, especially the automatic pistol. It doesn't do as much damage and it's just using so much ammo. For the CQW option, I did try a couple of shotguns. They were decent, but the flamethrower does a very good combo. For the mod slots, I'm using something with max ammo because I'm going for higher difficulties and I don't want to run out of ammo between some encounters. But if you go for lower difficulties, you can just use something else, increase your handling and everything else. For the second mod, we avoid anything that uses weak point damage, because flamethrowers don't do that. Something with fire rate probably is going to be one of the best options in order to fire our weapon faster. But here is the reason why we play the flamethrower, the barrel. It has a 20% chance to slow down the enemies by 50% for 10 seconds. By itself, the effect is quite impressive, but thankfully it stacks with the charged coils, meaning that any Xeno that's affected with both effects will just come walking towards its death. For the perks, you will see everything I run in the background. This is my first setup that I soloed some intense difficulty, and I go with the incinerator turret. It's by far the best choice in my opinion. It deals the most amount of damage, very fast, AoE damage, although it has very short range. You can just set it up and deal with the Xenos very easy using just the turret and the charged coils. Although resonating impact and deep leverage is a very good choice, I do intend to just change it because we slow down the enemies so much. I don't know how much it's worth it, especially if we're going for multiplayer, but you can try it yourself initially to see if you like it or to change it in the future. Real-time resource reclamation is one of the best perks you can unlock in the final upgrade for the Technician. When the turret is destroyed, it will deal damage to the enemies, and it now has a 5-second less cooldown, so it's a win-win. For our damaging increase for ourselves, we're using the compatibility matrix for an up to 30% damage increase, as well as the Gunner CQW training as a core perk to increase our stability and magazine size for that weapons. For the charged coils, I'm using quick charge, enchanted reach and extended duration. I really wanted to stack quick charge 3 times to further decrease the cooldown lower than 20 seconds, but unfortunately this is broken for now. It works for other classes, but as you can see in the background, I tried stacking quick charge multiple times and we still have a 20-second cooldown for our charge coils, and I really hope they fix it very soon. And these are the upgrades I want to try out with my new build. Bedside Manner in specific I do believe is a must for higher difficulties, especially 2 out of 3 members of the team should have it. to be able to res someone twice as fast and the downtime to last 25% longer can make a huge difference in some difficult situations. Scalable machine learning can be quite impressive for damage increase to get up to 50% reload speed and stability. Disruptive technology, a little more support perk to reduce the damage that enemies affected by our coils by 25% can make a huge difference, I believe, in higher difficulties. And the hyperlocal logistics, I do want to try this out if it's worth it for higher difficulties, otherwise I'm going to replace it with something else and see what works best. For the consumables, I highly recommend the Vulnerability Assessment Drone. It increased the whole team's damage by 25%, and I use that to just nuke some warriors or very high health elites, even in solo or in group, and some type of mines to lure out once again the warriors and elites that have the most hit points and prove a little difficult just to keep in check. Here are a few tips while running the technician class. I do recommend to place the turret on a higher ground. In case you play it on the ground itself and you kill the Xenos that are rush, the acid will actually damage the turret, but in case you place it on a higher ground, it will be safe from that damage and it will last longer. In case you get charged by the enemy, prioritize throwing a charged coil so you can slow them and then place the turret in case you haven't already done so, and you will be able to survive easier. The flame turret is the best option, but when you face Xenos. In case you face the Synthos in a couple of missions out there, it's the worst option. So I do recommend to just replace it with either the regular turret, although the sniper turret does surprisingly well against Synthos, and I do highly recommend to use that. Calm yourself, use the sniper turret, replace the flamethrower with an SMG, because we want something with a little longer range, and go like that. You are the best class to kite high health enemies such as warriors and others. You can throw the charged coils, stick on them, get their attention, run around close to your turret so you won't lose so much damage, and your teammates will just make sure to nuke them down with minimum damage, so it's quite an important role. And one final tip, in case you plan to go on intense difficulty or higher, and that applies to all the classes, don't be afraid to use consumables, especially as I told you, the vulnerable drone increases our damage by 25% and will make a huge difference when you face warriors or high health Xenos and make the difference between life and death. I do plan to keep testing the build for higher difficulties with a group because the AI is not the best to go for extreme and insane. They can be frustrating at the times, they won't help, they won't take proper positions. But don't worry, as I told you, I keep testing to see what works, and I'm also planning to test the other classes because I did try all of them except the Recon, and every class has its benefits, although for solo some are not as best suited as the Technician or the Demolisher or other classes, and are most suited to run with a group. And that was it for today's video. So far I do enjoy the game and most of the classes. I intend, as I told you, to try all of them. So feel free to like if you liked, and you can subscribe for more upcoming videos for Aliens, FireTeam Elite and other video games. And as always, I wish you all a wonderful day.